Hello everyone, another package today. I'm very excited because I know what it is. What is this? So let's open it up and we'll discuss it. Yes. So it is another 32X, Sega 32X game, but this one is special. This one is Kolibri. This one cost me $129. Yes, $129. The reason for that, well, you got me. But it is a very expensive game. It actually can go much higher than that. I've seen it in the 200s, in the 300s, and if it's factory sealed, well, you're gonna be paying quite a bit. So this is a complete in box. I'm really happy about that. The box itself is in fantastic condition. There is a little creasing on the top, but this kind of happens with Sega 32X games. The boxes just seem to be in a pile somewhere and they get stacked on and then they just kind of crease because the cardboard on these just aren't very good. I know I say that on just about every Sega 32X game that I review or receive, but it's true. The cardboard that they use sucks. So let's see what we got here. So this one's different in that the game is actually positioned differently. It's usually like that. This one is like this, which I kind of like. So looking at the cartridge itself, it's in great shape. And I have yet to really have a 32X cartridge that isn't in great shape. But this doesn't surprise me considering the box is in fantastic shape. So it doesn't look like this has been really through the wear and tear of somebody who played it a lot. Now the great thing about this one is that sometimes when you get a complete in box, it really just comes with the instruction manual. That's what a lot of people who put these games out will say, it's complete in box because it has an instruction manual. And by the way, this one looks really good. Looks brand new, so that's nice. But for me, complete in box means all the little pamphlets that come with it. And this is really cool to have something like this. So we've got a lot of denim in the 90s, a lot of denim. But it was big back then. And of course you got the Sega Sports was big back in the 90s as well. And so you get your selection here. Pretty cool. So, I guess the only thing we can do is play it and see if it's worth $130. So let's go pop it in. So here we go. This is Kolibri for Sega 32X, and you can tell right off the bat that the music's actually not too bad. It's quite impressive, actually. And also right off the bat, they are showcasing the newly improved color palette that the 32X has versus your typical 16-bit Sega Genesis. So there are a lot of options here. There's easy, normal, hard. You can change the way you control your hummingbird, your Kolibri, and you can mess with the music and sound effects per pretty much every game ever made, especially if you're talking about like a Sega CD or something. So you can see it really is impressive. The colors, it just kind of pops off the screen, and so it makes sense that they would do a hummingbird or something with nature involved to showcase all these colors that it can now do. Talking about the 32X, that is. Especially with the success of Ecco the Dolphin. This is right up that alley. You know, you've got just a typical animal that's given these amazing powers, and you have no idea why. But you do. So here is the story of Kolibri, if you can't tell, which you can't. Long ago, a crystal from outer space embedded itself in the Earth, which we just saw, and started creating life. Soon, another similar crystal crashed to Earth and started to destroy what the first crystal had created, and started to sap away its strength. But before being totally destroyed, the crystal gave a lone hummingbird its power, and it's up to this hummingbird to save the entire planet Earth. Of course, you gotta put some sort of, weight on it. So, Kolibri is a shooting game. It was created exclusively for the Sega 32X, and Kolibri is a root word for hummingbird. So instead of putting hummingbird on the front, they decided to go with Kolibri. Why not? So there are a number of power-ups. You'll soon realize which are your favorite and which ones you hate. I do have a favorite. It looks a lot like a fireworks show, so when you shoot it, it explodes and destroys a bunch of different things in one area. So that's usually my favorite, but there are a ton to choose from. It's just a matter of figuring out which bubble is what power. And ultimately what you're doing is you are solving puzzles. It's just one giant puzzle. The idea is to take back all of the flowers that the bees and ants and whatever those bugs are have taken over from your hummingbird buddies who hated you literally just minutes ago and, love you the next because you're saving their food source. So once you destroy all the ants or the bugs and the bees and all that are protecting these flowers, you move on to the next stage. So I've already talked to you about the sound. The sound I actually think is very good, and the music is just as good, in my opinion. I would also say that the graphics are quite nice, mainly because it shows off the color palette, like I mentioned earlier, of the Sega 32X. So the graphics I'm giving obviously high marks. Now let's talk control. Control-wise, this is also pretty well done. Strangely, if there is such a thing, you do feel like you're flying like a hummingbird. You do have like a speed burst button you can use. I hardly ever use it. It does come in handy every once in a while, but going forward and backward and up and down, it really they did a really nice job with the controls. Although some will complain that you have to actually look at your target before you shoot instead of just shooting and then it hits whatever target's nearby. But that's just not real, man. That's just not real. Shooting lasers out of a hummingbird's beak, that's real. And I haven't finished the game yet, but I would probably give it an average score as far as replayability is concerned. I think I would probably pick this up again, in a few months after I had beaten it, just because it is kind of a nice, relaxing, fun game. But it's not something that's gonna blow you away to the idea that you're gonna want to play this again almost immediately after you win it. So enough of what I think about it. Let's talk about how it was received when it first came out way back in 1995. Most of the reviews kind of hit the middle mark. So if you're looking at between a range of 1 and 10, 10 being the highest, it probably fell somewhere in the 6 range, 7. But most of them gave it high marks for impressive visuals and certainly originality. But some criticized how the game restarts the player character in a highly vulnerable position each time it dies. I don't agree with that. I haven't gotten so far that maybe it does happen later on in the game. I haven't found that to be the case early on, though. Other reviews were a little bit harsher because they were expecting maybe something a little bit along the lines of a Gradius or an R-Type. But this really isn't that type of game. I mean, it just isn't. It is original in my opinion. It may get a little monotonous from time to time, but for me, it's really not that bad. In fact, to all those who said this game wasn't original, I challenge you to find another game where a hummingbird shoots lasers out of its beak. And that's it. That is Kolibri, the $130 video game for the Sega 32X. So I pose this question to you. Would you pay $130 for this video game? What would you pay for this video game? Does Kolibri make you want to go out and buy a Sega 32X? I'd love to hear all your thoughts on the game in the comments below. So that is my time. Thanks for joining me for another Layman Video Gamer episode. I'm Scott Galaxy. We'll see you next time.